rise today as we approach the conclusion of the 117th Congress and as I near the end of my service in this esteemed body. As I reflect on the multitude of challenges this nation and the world have faced over these 4 short years and those that lie ahead, I thank my colleagues and our leadership for the seriousness and dedication with which they've tackled these challenging issues. I want to thank my staff in Washington who are here and those in our 3 district offices for your tireless dedication to the people of Virginia's 2nd District. You've assisted so many who needed a helping hand, everyone from farmers to shipbuilders across coastal Virginia. And I want to thank my family, my husband Robert, my daughter Violet. I couldn't have been here and served the district and the people of Virginia without you. I also want to acknowledge the strength and the bond of the class of 2018. You've been amazing colleagues and true friends, and I know that you will continue to be leaders, focused on improving our country for the next generation. We entered Congress under a partial government shutdown, a legacy of a protracted battle of how to fund security at our southern border, a 35-day lapse in government funding, the longest in our history. On my first weekend in office, I visited a pop-up food bank for members of our Coast Guard, where the local community rallied behind our Coast Guard families, who were starting the new year without a paycheck. This was a story of our community stepping in to care for one another that are so common that I heard across 4 years in every corner of our district. But there are also stories of how the distraction caused by political theater and political divisions can lead to unnecessary hardship. As we approach a looming deadline this year to fund our government, we should not let these divisions or rhetoric stand in the way of performing our fundamental role as Congress. On May 31st, 2019, a day that remains etched in the memory of Virginia Beach, I saw the devastation caused by the first of 2 mass shootings that roiled our community. That day, 12 innocent victims left home for work before the Memorial Day weekend, a time that they looked forward to spending with their families at barbecues and the beaches. Yet instead, their lives were senselessly stolen by a shooter who entered the municipal center and indiscriminately opened fire. And again, just weeks ago, on the eve of Thanksgiving, a shooter opened fire in a local Chesapeake Walmart, where shoppers were grabbing their last-minute items for a holiday meal. This time, our community lost 6 more precious lives who would not join their families at the holiday table. Among those was a 16-year-old boy. This Congress has taken measures to prevent these types of tragic events in our community and yours. But as I depart, I implore my colleagues to continue to do more. The first time I stood in this very place to speak on the floor of the House, I rose as a Jewish woman to speak out against anti-Semitism, which has seen a rapid and alarming rise and has even reared its head among our colleagues in this own chamber in the forms of claims of dual loyalty to those who show support for Israel, our strongest ally in the Middle East. I look back on that first speech I made as a member of Congress and am even more concerned today about the rising frequency and pervasiveness of anti-Semitism. I implore my colleagues to continue their quest to root out this scourge of vile and pernicious anti-Semitism. In that first speech, I also mentioned my oath I took to support and defend the Constitution. But little did I know that 2 short years later, I would witness an attempt by our own president and his allies to subvert the Constitution and summon a mob to disrupt the counting of electoral votes from a free and fair election. On that day, January 6, 2021, lives were lost, these hallowed halls were desecrated, and the strength of our democracy was tested. I've been humbled to participate in uncovering the facts about that dark day in our history. I thank Chairman Thompson and Vice Chair Cheney and my colleagues on the staff of the January 6th Committee for standing on the side of democracy. I'm proud of the work we've done over the last 2 Congresses to support our veterans and their families. My Gold Star Families Tax Relief eased the burden on children of those killed in combat or deceased from service-connected disabilities. And I thank President Biden for making veterans' toxic exposure a priority. We passed the largest increase in access to veterans' benefits in our lifetime through the PACT Act, which included my Covenant Act, to provide health care to burn pit veterans. The threats we face as a nation continue to grow as we witness Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine, Iran's persistent pursuit of a nuclear weapon, and the rise of China threatening our maritime and national security. As we've heard in testimony, China is likely to attempt to take Taiwan by force in the next 5 years. This is our most pressing national security concern. The action or inaction that we take in standing up to China in this moment will determine whose values rule the remainder of the 21st century, the United States and our allies or the Chinese Communist Party. That is why, as I depart, I urge my colleagues to take this threat seriously, to fulfill the constitutional task of Article 1, Section 8, to provide and maintain a Navy. If we fail to remain the predominant maritime power in the Pacific, frankly, nothing else that we do in this Congress will matter if we don't get this right. I thank you, God bless you, and I yield back.